Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
So today I thought we'd talk about something that was inspired by my conversation with Chris.
Wait, what?
Chris, stop talking to him.
I'm sorry.
So I want to talk today about customer-centric versus product-centric. And Chris, you're muted. There you go.
Sorry about that.
We're
Okay.
speechless.
He's stunned. Stunned silence.
He's looking at the book of knowledge.
Mhm.
Customer-centric versus pay. I
Okay.
like
Is Chris faking
that.
the?
It's a great concept.
Yeah, but we can't hear you, Chris.
Google has shut him down.
Hey, Google said customer-centric. We're going to have none of that.
It's just Hangouts being product-centric.
I'll trim this. I'll trim the beginning of this. So,
Can you hear me
Chris, are
now?
you there? No, we lost them. All right. So anyway, let's start. No, actually, we lost them all the way.
We did, huh? He's dropping and coming right back.
Yep, there he is.
Yep.
Back from the depths.
He's got that fiber optic line right to his house, doesn't he?
No, I don't know what the issue is. He just wanted to go get ready and read up on it.
I had an issue. I had a squirrel issue this week, so that was fun.
Squirrel.
Hi.
Exactly.
Can you hear me now?
All right. So we're talking about customer-centric versus product-centric. There's no right answer here. We're all friends, right? Well,
Right.
most of us. So let's start by talking about traditional steps in running a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, and this could vary.
Hi, can
Yes.
you guys hear me?
This could vary with all of you. To me, the most important thing that a company can do is maximize shareholder value.
Assuming you have shareholders, yes.
Or value, for that matter. You should always think about how to maximize profits.
I think
Go ahead, I'm sorry. You think?
well, I think maximizing shareholder value should be a priority, obviously, but it can't be the only one. You have to have the ability to assure the continuity of the country,
I cannot hear you.
because
Chris, we can't hear you.
all right.
Do me a favor, shut your camera
Do
off.
what?
Maybe just do a voice.
My camera hurts.
Nope, can't hear you, Chris.
He sounds like the HAL 9000.
Can you hear
Being deactivated. Start singing Daisy in a minute. At least he's smiling now.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
So, Chris, you there? We have technical difficulties. Let's go to the videotape.
This is when a little loop runs of the monkey with the cymbals.
Yeah.
Tommy, can you hear me? Tommy,
Videotape, I hardly know her. Now, say something.
Anything.
something. Can you hear me now?
Nope. You know, maybe it's a 300 baud modem. You have to place the handset tightly on the coupler. Oh, that's an old man joke.
I don't know what you're talking
Can you
about.
hear me now? Can you hear me now?
That's
I can hear
better.
you now. Yep.
Okay. It was
So you were saying?
It was the net. I'm sorry. So I was saying that I think that maximizing shareholder value should be a primary concern, but it can't be the only, because there are plenty of companies who lost sight of the longer term goal for what are we going to do this quarter or this month, and they end up tanking and destroying the company.
Okay, but
So I think
as a
temperate longer term view.
I agree with you. So, but you think that as a guiding principle, maximizing shareholder value is the key to any company, don't you think?
Well, I think it's a key output for a goal, but I think you've got to do a lot of things in order to do that.
Well, yeah, if it was easy, then Steve would be doing it.
Exactly.
But the thing I want to talk about is there's a lot of companies out there that are very product oriented, right? So as product oriented, you can we have two Chris's online now.
It's Chris and Phantom Chris.
Which one has
Maybe
the
it's
mustache? Which one has the mustache? That's evil Chris.
Yeah, it's Bizarro Chris.
Well, the real Chris, please stand up. Please stand up. Okay. So now that I've totally lost my train of thought here. So
You're going to maximize podcast listener value.
exactly, not anymore. I think that ship has sailed. Oh God. So the notes that I have, that the traditional pieces of running a business are maximizing shareholder value, value and cost reductions, market share, extending the product, product oriented, and product expertise, right? So traditionally, this is my opinion, the business has always been about maximizing shareholder value, right? That's my opinion. You have to be able to maximize those profits by increasing your volume and cost reductions, right? So if you make a widget today, now that product could be a service, right? So the product is just a word.
A generic term.
Yeah. So if you're doing, I don't know, if you're doing consulting, you want to be able to have as much consulting as possible and try to reduce the cost of that consulting.
Right.
And a key performance indicator would be how much market share do you have, right?
Right.
If you're Accenture over E&Y, the more you have, the better it would be. One of the other key growth is through extending the product. So if you have a product that can be used for consulting, or a product can be used for X, and if it can be used for Y also, then you're extending the reach of the product, right? And building a product base structure. So my point is, in a product or service life, you have you have like a research and development group, or whatever, skunk works, whatever you want to call it, and you go to them and you say, build me something that I can sell, right? Makes sense?
Right.
And I was thinking about you, David,
Oh, okay.
because this is your company, right?
Yeah.
Because your company basically said, we came up with an idea, it's a product, now go sell it.
Pretty much. I think it evolved slightly differently than that, but it's close enough. I think it was more a matter of they developed some really interesting tech. They found a few people that were willing to pay for such tech, a nice amount of money for it, not just a couple of pennies. And so value was seen by several clients in the technology, therefore a company was born. And now it's been going through the growth and evolutionary stage of getting to that next phase where that value proposition could be spread to more verticals.
Right. So when you turn that into a customer-centric model, which I think very few companies have done, right? It's actually the opposite. What you're doing is you're starting with the customer, and you would go to the customer. Actually, you go to your research and development group and say, we have a bunch of customers, go develop something for them.
Right.
Chris, is that? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think that my company is more customer centric than most, and I don't know that we've achieved the goal there.
Right. Those are two very extreme goals. But this is what I'm talking about. I was talking to you about something, and this is what sparked my thinking about this.
Well, I mean the idea of being customer centric doesn't mean you have to go to the customer and say what you want. You know, you can see a need and decide to fill it and create a product, whatever that is, whether it's consulting or that's, you know, some kind of a device or whatever.
Right. Like we should consider Apple customer centric, Marco, because they don't really do focus groups. They just sort of build stuff and say.
Right, but Apple is not customer centric.
I said, would you consider them? I didn't say they were.
I'm sorry. I think Apple is probably one of the furthest points away from customer centric, right? And it's actually they actually boast about that fact.
But so, you know, so if you come back to the original premise, which is to maximize shareholder value, being customer centric is a opposite of that concept, because being customer centric means, you know, I'm not going to shave 2 cents out of the product if it's going to keep the customer happy. And from that perspective, Apple's a little closer, right?
No, actually I differ with you. Customer shareholder value, in my point of this thing that I was going to go into later, I think customer value, put that aside for a second, because I think you can't get away from customer value. Shareholder value, you can't get away from that. But like, if you look at Nordstrom's, right? Nordstrom considers themselves customer centric.
Customer centric, right?
Right, because they will do anything the customer wants. But is that really customer centric? I don't think that's customer centric. That's just a customer pleasing, but they have no idea what the customer wants.
Well, I think they do. I think they believe their customer wants to have a, you know, moderately to high-priced product that's fashion-forward and classic, if you see where I'm going with this, and get excellent service across the board. And their whole, everything they do is all about providing the best level of customer service.
I would tell you that I don't think that they know what their customer wants. I actually think that Chris is much more of a customer-centric company than Nordstrom is, because he developed this product with the customer in mind, right? And I think I think retail is the worst customer-centric you can think of, because retail always has a sense of building something as a retail. I'm sorry, go ahead, Chris.
But I mean, if you put Nordstrom's up against their competition, I mean, and, you know, and Macy's and, you know, all the rest, and I think that Nordstrom's does a much better job of keeping their customers happy.
Yeah, that's no question. I agree with you, but that doesn't make
that's the concept of the customer centricity, right? That you know, you take care of the customer's needs, and you keep the customer happy, and you make it a pleasant experience.
I think there's an element of time of value to the customer-centric question too, Marco. I think Nordstrom's, Macy's, Chris's company Sprinkler is a great example. I think the closer you are to the start period or the genesis of your company, the more customer-centric you are, right? And particularly when you go public, I think the farther you get from that starting point, the further you get from being customer-centric, right? I mean, if you look at, I think in this last example, Macy's is a great example of that. Look at Macy's versus Nordstrom's. Nordstrom's is a relatively newer company as compared to Macy's, right? Macy's has kind of gone to, which used to be more of a high-end kind of niche, customer-centric retailer, right, to just kind of a
Mass market.
mass market, right?
Yeah.
Right, and I think they do that because they're trying to maximize shareholder value over time, right? And they lose sight of the customer-centric piece of it.
That's interesting.
I think we have to differentiate customer-centric from customer service. Because
True.
customer service means that, like T-Mobile, great customer service. Absolutely the best customer service, right? But that's customer service. That means that something has happened and I'm willing to help you. Customer centric to me is the fact that everything you do starts with the customer. Right? It's a little bit different. Because I don't think that Nordstrom starts with the customer. I think they want to appease the customer. There was a story that there was a gentleman that returned 4 tires to a Nordstrom store, right? And the Nordstrom guy took him back,
We probably put them in the tie department.
right? But there's no tire department at Nordstrom.
I said tie department.
Yes,
It sounds similar.
right. So they took him back, and they said that's because we're customer centric, but it's just customer service. To me, customer centric means that you identify a group of people, a group of a segment of a market, and you go build for that segment of the market, and your company is based upon the centricity that you build around that market. So
I think
sorry, go ahead.
I think Steve had a great concept, and the more I think about it, the more I think he's got a lot on that. Because if you look at like Comcast, right? You know, where the opposite of customer centricity, and the problem is that they're trying to wring every 100th of a penny out of everything they do. You know, and you know the story a couple of years ago of the guy who recorded the 45-minute phone call that he tried to cancel his Comcast service.
Right.
Yeah.
And the guy asked him 200 times, literally, can we renew your service, kind of stuff. And the guy said no 200 times, and 45 minutes later, he finally canceled the service. And that's the opposite of valuing your customer and respecting your customer and trying to understand your customer and serve them well. And I think that that's the kind of thing that happens as the company matures when you start saying, I'm going to maximize shareholder value, and you've reached a point of equilibrium where the services and the products and everything that you're delivering to your customer have you've reached a point where it's reasonably in balance. And then somebody new comes into the company and says, okay, I'm going to maximize shareholder value. Is there another quarter of a penny that I can shave out of this? And that's when you start ending up with crap like a 45-minute phone call at Comcast to disconnect your service. Because somebody said, if we can keep 2 people out of 1,000 from canceling the service, then we've maximized our shareholder value.
I think that's a perfect example of a product centricity, right? Because everything that they do, the most important thing is the damn product and keeping you in it.
No, actually, that doesn't have anything to do with the product. That's where the company's lost sight of what it's doing, and it's really focusing on how can I take care of this quarter's returns. And that's what I meant when I said you can't just look at what's my profitability. You have to look at, where am I going to go in the long term? Because when you start doing things like that, then when anybody comes up with an alternative to your service, which is marginally better, you're going to lose your customer. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense.
Well, Marco, what do you run at your home? I mean, you have a mix between DirecTV and Cablevision, right?
So to take that the discussion, right? If Comcast were to come out with a product that is made for a segmented market, right? If Comcast were to say, we're going to come up with a $9.99 all-in-one product, it's not going to be fast, it's not going to be sexy, but it takes care of this group of people, right? So that means that if you're not that group of people, you're out of that product, right? So to your point, you wouldn't have that 45-minute call, and somebody would say, hey, I want to go, my internet would be faster. And they would say, well, I'm sorry, our internet goes at 10 megabits, and if you want to go faster, you can go talk to Time Warner or whatever it is, right? That would be customer-centric to a group of people.
See,
Right.
that's what my local CLEC did with me. I had a company here called Altiva, used to be Warwick Valley Telephone.
Yeah.
I had their DSL service. It was nowhere near as fast as what I can get from Cablevision. And they basically said, look, we can't help you. That's what our network does. And our suggestion is you may need to switch providers if you want a faster network. And their customer service, which is a little different than customer-centric, happened to be excellent the way they handle it. I was very impressed with them.
That's a customer-centric company.
Yeah.
They are, and I was really impressed with the way they did business overall.
Right, because they're saying we're the Chevy of the marketplace. You want a Chevy? Here it is. Or actually, Volkswagen is a better example, right? Here's your Beetle. If you want anything but the Beetle, we cannot help you. Yeah. But then we've also extended the Beetle to make it a pickup, to make it a war machine, which is something I don't want to get into. But, but those are the extending of that product. But they are customer-centric. Like Fiat was the same way. They developed a product for a given group of people. That doesn't make them product-centric. That makes them customer-centric, right?
Right. Customer-centric is placing a high value on the experience that the customer has with your company. Right, and that experience extends through everything. It's product, but it's also service. It's also the sales experience. It's also, calling you, the bill they receive in the mail. Everything. You have to look at how that customer interacts with your company. And if you're customer centric, then you care about their entire experience from start to finish, not any one aspect of it.
I totally agree with you with all that, but if you have multiple products and a product's lead, it's so, like, to me, it's so fundamental of the first meeting when you say, we're going to build something, right? Are you saying, how do we build something for this group of people? Or are you saying, how do we build a product? So
that doesn't matter. Right? You keep coming back to, how am I making the decision of what to build? That's a marketplace decision, right? Whether it's a service or a product, and that doesn't come into it. What comes into it is, how is my customer going to interact with me? It doesn't matter if you're selling, single cigarettes sitting outside the 7-Eleven, or if you're selling, gold-plated Rolls Royces. It really doesn't matter. You have to consider, how's the customer's experience in working with me compared to my competitors in that market.
I think like a Starbucks is a perfect example. Right? They've got multiple products at multiple levels, but their service and their experience is consistent.
So let's talk about Starbucks.
That's the key to their success.
I was waiting for somebody to bring up Starbucks. Starbucks is a product-centric company. Don't make the two mistakes. Don't make the mistake between customer service and customer centric. Right? Now, if you walked in, right? If you walked in and somebody said, Marco, here's your coffee that you always order, right? Through a loyalty card, through something like, think of Starbucks. If you could walk in and swipe your card, right? And because and as soon as you swipe your card, the woman would say, Marco, welcome back. How's your kids? And by the way, here's your coffee that you always order. Right? That would be customer centric. But you walk into Starbucks, and what do they say?
They get your name wrong.
Okay, they give you who you are. Know who you are. But don't mistake customer centric or customer experience, right? Because it's not an experience. It's the fact that I know who you are, and I'm doing this because of who you are. Anybody that has a loyalty card, right, and use it properly. I'm not talking about AMP.
So I happen to live 2 blocks away from
Everything.
the Pete's Coffee flagship store, actually.
Have you made the conversion from Starbucks to Pete's?
I've never been a Starbuckian.
Oh, then there's no reason to convert.
No.
I like Pete's. It's good coffee.
Probably better, 10 times better than Starbucks.
Wish we had it here, actually.
Yes. Go ahead, please. Tell me.
So, my wife, the third time that she went into the store, they remembered her name and remembered her coffee.
Mhm.
And I think that that's something that happens other places outside of the Eastern Seaboard as well. But it made a tremendous impression on her, and now she's a convert and loves Pete's. Now, I also think that the people that Pete's has working in their flagship store are not your everyday baristas either.
Yeah.
So if you were to do this, right, let's take Starbucks for a second. If you walked in there and here's David coming in there, and David likes his triple macchiato fruit drink, and the barista says, hey, how you doing? What are you doing in the middle of the day? Because I work from home, and I always break at 3 o'clock to come here and do this, right? And now I have all this data that people that work from home like fruit drinks. And if I'm able to use that data, the next time that David walks into a store in Midtown Manhattan, if the barista would say, oh, I know who you are. Hey, David, you're not working from home today? Right? And then take that data and build not an experience, but a product just for him.
See, I think that borders on creepy, though.
Yeah.
Personally, that's where you start. I mean, it's like leveraging mobile technology in a mobile app where you actually have the service running on the device, but in the background, use location services and profile through the loyalty program every single product the person buys. You walk into some store in some area that's not your neighborhood, and they say, you walk in and they start talking about your family, and hey, is Karen there with you today? I know she likes this. I see you're just here, but that kind of thing. That would be like super, super creepy, even if I opted in.
I'll tell you what, I hate the fact that I have to go to every freaking Starbucks and tell them exactly what I want every single damn time.
I think you can order from the mobile app. I think you can choose your favorite.
Yeah, you can now.
I get it. But I'm saying,
I think the creepiness factor is a very important thing, and the fact that I like my shirts in a box because I travel. I like my dry cleaner to know that, and that's good and useful to me.
But it's your dry cleaner. You built a relationship.
Yeah, but the fact that my Visa card knows every freaking thing I purchase every freaking week scares the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And there's there's a line somewhere in the middle there that it varies depending on who you're talking to and what you're talking about.
It all depends how you use the data. It's either going forward or going backwards. I had this discussion the other night when I went to dinner, right? And the guy at dinner that's hosted the dinner for me is a big business intelligence guy, right? When I tell you what he did, you might think he's not that big. He's probably very small. The fact is that he said to me, we're sitting in a restaurant, and he said, wouldn't it be great to know what all these people order tonight and be able to change the menu next time, or it'd be great to know what they're getting, right? And my point was, who the hell cares what they had right? Because I think one of the biggest problems in business today, and we'll talk about it at some other point, is that the way you look at business is what happened in the past, right? You want to be able to increase the value for a customer going forward, right? So if I'm David and I'm selling, I don't care what you sell today. I want to know that you have a customer that he was going to buy $10,000 a month, and because of one thing you did, it increases in 12,000 a month, and that increases the value of the customer.
Well, so the challenge between customer centricity and product centricity, right? It comes down to if Apple had asked their customers what kind of phone they wanted when they built the first iPhone, then they would have built a really slick flip phone.
So
right.
Hold on a second. Hold on. That's a great example, but let's just take it a different way. What if Apple would have said, we have a group of people, right? It could be everybody, the group of people that I think are going to like this phone, right? I'm not saying do a focus group to see if they like your design. But what if they said, we can increase the number of people buying it if we give them this device, right? And what if they said, we're going to use this device. Yeah, I can't do it for a mass market. I can't.
Well,
Apple to me is a mass electronics market.
So compare it to like BlackBerry and look what happened to them, or compare it to, Android released their first version of Android. It looked like a freaking BlackBerry, and then they had to switch their entire approach to come out with something that looks a little suspiciously like an iPhone.
It's not so much. I don't think I can do this for a mass market product. You can probably do it for like a consulting company, right? If you look at a consulting company, what is it that they're building for a given customer? So if you build a consulting group for risk and compliance, right, you're doing just that. That to me is a customer-centric solution, right? Because you're taking risk and compliance and you're building something for that group.
Right, but it's easy for a consulting company to be able to switch gears because they're selling just professional services. You have the skill sets in-house. As long as you're just utilizing those skill sets of people slightly differently, you can tweak your slide deck any way you want to change the service offerings for people. When you're talking about a hard-coded product, whether it's clothing or cars or something that's a tangible asset, it's very hard to shift that around without going through another product development cycle.
But I think you're still focusing on how do you decide what to build, and that's not what customer-centric means. Customer-centric means it doesn't matter what you're building or what you're offering or what your customer needs. You have to take care of the customer's experience, and what Apple does very well with that. The Genius Bar, and you walk in and your phone is broken and they take care of it and all that kind of stuff. That is customer centric.
That's customer experience service. That's not customer centric.
Well, it's customer experience.
Yeah, but it's customer.
Right. Are you happy with it? And it starts with the box you get and opening the box.
Right, but customer experience and customer centric are two different things. Customer centric is just doing something for a given amount of people. It's not for everybody.
Comcast could make a great argument to say that the fact that they keep their costs low gives their customer a good experience. Mm-hmm. The fact they can add another channel to the 257 they're offering for free.
Let's stop right there. If they gave you 10 channels that was just for farmers, that would be customer centric. Giving me 500 channels that's for everybody is not customer centric.
Well, they have foreign language packs, don't they?
Right.
And they have different sports packs that you could buy for different fans of different sports.
Right.
And now they're starting to group those things into those little packs, where you can just say, I want the sports pack. I don't care about any other channel.
Right. You can actually get 6 channels from them now. So now they're becoming customer centric, right?
Right.
They're saying, I've detailed the group, I've taken what I produce, and how do I make that for giving people? That's customer centricity.
You keep making this confusion between what the thing is that you're selling and what the customer experience is.
No, you keep making the confusion between customer-centric and customer experience. Those are two very different things. Customer-centric has got nothing to do with the experience you do, because Apple is not a customer-centric.
So let's define that.
Sure.
What is customer-centric versus product-centric?
So customer-centric versus product-centric is when you're product-centric, you go to market with a product or service that you don't know who it's built for, and you're putting it out there to see who comes, like a vegetable stand, right? Customer-centric could be saying, I want to make sure that there's a group of people that are very health nuts, and in the morning they like apples and nuts, and I'm only going to carry apple and nuts. That's customer-centric, right? Now, both people may have the best experience in the world, right? But one's a diner, one is Starbucks. Starbucks sells coffee. A diner, you can get a hamburger at it, right? The diner is not customer-centric. Starbucks is customer-centric for being just coffee, right?
So,
if you don't like coffee, you're not going to go to Starbucks.
So I think it's different than that. I think if you're opening up a fruit stand, customer-centric is, do you fill in the potholes on the side of the road where your customers park?
It isn't. It is not.
There's not value to that, but there's not any direct value to your company to it, but it makes for a better customer experience.
That's customer experience. That's what you're right. That is customer experience.
And when the woman is standing there and she's saying, I need to make a rhubarb pie, and she's buying a pound, and you know that she really needs a pound and a quarter because the rhubarbs are going to shrink when she cooks them, and you throw in a couple more rhubarbs. That's customer-centric. To me, that's taking care of the person. That's the difference between a Nordstrom's experience and a Macy's experience, and that's the difference between a Starbucks experience and the 7-Eleven experience and buying a cup of coffee, right? It's how that customer feels when they walk away. And the 7-Eleven experience is different in Midtown Manhattan than it is in Boise, Idaho. And in Boise, Idaho is probably a lot better customer experience, and therefore you would feel as if that organization is more customer-centric. Right? And customer centricity is where 7-Eleven says, I'm going to put a timer, or Starbucks says, I'm going to put a timer on my coffee pot, and even if there isn't a customer in the store, I'm going to toss that pot of coffee because it's 45 minutes old. That's customer centric. Right? Because you're worried about the experience the customer has, as opposed to, and again, it doesn't matter whether you're selling them Arabica or a civet or whatever kind of coffee it is, or whether or not you offer that coffee, because quite frankly, some customers are going to come in, and even though they prefer Arabica, and today you've only got Kona, they're going to come in and buy your Kona because it's a better experience for them, rather than the guy across the street who's going to treat them like crap and sell them exactly what they want.
Yeah, so I've got a definition here, so maybe this is a good thing to throw out. A definition that I've got for product-centric is an organization that's focused on creating the best product, right? Whereas customer-centric is creating the best solution for the customer, right?
Right. It's nothing to do with experience. It's a solution-based, product-based for that customer.
Yes, but I think the subtle distinction it also has is it's about a customer culture searching for new needs to fill, right? Versus a product company that's a new product culture looking for new products to develop.
That's right. That's why I said that you're going to go back to your research and development group and say, let's start with the customer and let's make something for that customer. It's not about once they come into our store or place of business, let's make that experience as great, because you can do both. right? You can have a customer experience whether you're product-centric or customer-centric.
I think I see where you're going, but I think at some point the customer service and the customer centric are much more closely aligned than a product centric and a customer service, right? Because you don't really care.
Really?
Yeah.
So
let's look at all the carriers again, right? Like AT&T. You got an AT&T phone, you got AT&T service.
Product-centric.
It's product centric,
right?
Right.
As opposed to who is customer centric in carriers.
T-Mobile. They're building solutions for their customers. Here's your Wi-Fi calling. Here's you don't have to worry about this. And they're attracting customers that, like Wi-Fi calling. I don't care about Wi-Fi calling. But if you're in an area that you can't get service, you care about Wi-Fi calling. They're the only ones that have it.
Yeah, there are plenty of people that live in some place in the city.
Yeah. And if you guys, I don't know if you guys follow the CEO on Twitter this week, and he came up with all data should be unlimited. And Verizon said no because it slows up everybody, which is a cop-out. Those are very customer-centric because he says the customer wants unlimited data.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he started with that. That's customer-centric. Experience-wise, Verizon's got a much better user experience than T-Mobile because I've landed in Cleveland and couldn't get one bar from T-Mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's the difference. So you can go to Walmart and have a. I'll give you an example. There's a food chain by my house. They're not just the East Coast, but you walk in and you can't find something, and you're like, "Where is this?" They will walk with you until you find it. Right? That's customer experience. The store is product centric.
But what about, just a question, what about if their business model is that's what their product is as part of that service versus the one-off where you find the one nice person that works there and wants to be helpful to you?
Just think about that. Hang on. Think of what Steve just said, though.
No, I know. I was saying it just to throw it out there. I know.
Because to me, your product, one of the conversations that you and I get into every morning when I bitch and you bitch, we have a bitching session every morning at 9 o'clock. It's very
I call it strategery.
But your challenges, David, are around product-centric company. And you're saying, I'm going to go find a customer for it.
Right.
Right? And that's okay. But if your company had said, we're going to go after this group of people, then you would already have a value proposition. Because a lot of companies, the biggest problem I see with product-centric companies is that they're searching for a value proposition. Not always.
Mm-hmm.
But in some cases, in most cases.
See, I think the majority of companies that are out there, and let's just take mine out of this conversation for this purpose of this, but the majority of companies that are out there, I find have that exact problem. They've got a product/solution, doesn't really matter which is which, right? And they literally don't understand their own use cases and how to apply it into a particular market. And that's why a lot of companies are floundering and spinning around in circles or disappearing because they haven't cracked that code on how to bring their product to market properly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's a very common problem in technology.
Huge. It's just yeah, I agree.
I guess what I'm thinking is how do you can you give me examples of retail customer versus product centricity? I'm struggling with this.
So product centricity in retail, right? So if do you guys know what Nature Pavilion is?
Who?
Nature Pavilion.
No.
It's basically one of those nut bag stores. You go in and it's like, if you drink this tea, you will be healthier.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So
it's California. Got it.
Exactly. I didn't want to say that. So if you look at them, they said, we're going to build everything around the customer who's a nutbag. It's in their mission statement. We only serve nutbags. So you can be a retail store and build a product base that's around one customer. Right? If you want a beer, you can't walk into that store. If you want a cake, you cannot walk into that store.
Right.
And no matter how hard you try, we're only going to be customer centric.
But how is that different from every other health food store on the market? Are all health food stores customer centric?
All health food stores are customer centric. Now, you can be even more customer centric by saying, because of what they buy, we're going to collapse certain lines, right? And we have some suggestions that people want to get this kind of stuff. So, but you're always around what the customer wants. Walmart is not customer centric, right?
Right.
So can a big box store be customer centric? I guess that's the question.
So Walmart to me is not a big box store. Walmart to me is a retail outlet. I think that a big box store like a Costco, I don't think they can be customer centric because you find things on there that you never thought you were going to buy, and it's not based on what you like. It's just that it appears on the shelf. I think early Home Depot was based on customer centricity, right? In the beginning, Home Depot was, we're going to retail everything that contractor wants. Now you can find, anything there.
Well, you could say the same thing about Staples when it first started.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. What their thing was, we know that people like stationary stores. We want to, industrialize that. We want to expand their business.
Right, and they did.
And by the way, Chris, I mean, we're flying over your company. Your company was 12 people how long ago?
3.5 years ago.
3.5 years ago. Your whole company is based on one type of customer.
Yes.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's why it was talking to you about what you and I went back and forth an email on. When I started doing some research, it's like, this is a customer-centric company.
Yeah.
Right. Because
We want to serve one customer and take care of all their needs in this area.
that's, to me, is the key to customer-centric. Now, if you were to tell me, Marco, can you also add network monitoring because we're in a network company? I'm like, well, yeah, I can. What are you going to do? Just sell to a different customer, though? You
Yeah.
only get one customer.
Well,
And I don't mean one customer as in, you sell
Yeah.
to payroll clerks. You're selling to a customer that needs one thing, right?
yeah. Yeah, we're selling a solution to managing social in a complex enterprise environment. But yeah.
They can use Word to build that thing. They can use Excel to do something else, but your product is for one use and one use only.
Yeah.
Right? That's, to me, that's the key of customer centricity. There's not one better than the other, and I think that you're going to be more successful going forward with customer centricity. But there's a lot of companies that are product centric. It will always be product. GE is a product centric company.
I guess the challenge is that when you're product centric, then if you come back to maximizing shareholder value, which is where we started the whole conversation today, when you're product centric, then the way that you maximize the shareholder value is by improving the profitability of the product.
That's it. Right? I told you
Right.
that.
And the problem there is that improving the profitability of the product can be done at the expense of a customer's experience.
Well, you only do it two ways. You either reduce your costs, you increase the features around that product, and you have to hope that those features actually have some value. So you can charge more.
So great point. But let's just put customer experience to one side again. You increase your shareholder value by doing two real things, right? Actually, three things. You can do more volume, right? You start with
more, yeah.
XYZ, right? You can have a wider market share, a more expensive product, upselling within that category, or you can reduce cost. And that's what you're doing, right? You're bringing these things together to be able to reduce the unit cost. You're not raising your costs. My company is raising their costs. Yours is not. Right?
Well, actually, my company does raise our cost. We raise our prices.
No, not price, cost.
No.
Right?
Yes, no, you're right. You're right.
What you keep is the important piece there.
Well, that's where the shareholder value is.
Right. So the ultimate thing that I want to leave you with is this. What would happen if you were able to capitalize on future business by increasing future value of one customer versus selling the product? It's not an easy answer. Something I'll give you some homework on.
Okay.
And I'll write it out for you. So because my ideas are not there.
Spell it out for us.
Yeah, I'll spell it out.
Write our answers down for us,
Why
and then
don't
The question, as I'm thinking about it, the question doesn't make sense to me. So
Why don't you get it out there on Twitter and see what reactions we get from our
there you go.
listener base?
So
We could use that social networking stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I only had a platform that I could use.
I don't know what could possibly do. I don't think there's a customer-centric company out there that does this, or is there?
That has a platform that we could use. I don't think there is one.
Yeah, something that could combine Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn all on one screen.
Especially one that would sponsor an episode, something like this.
Nah, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
If there was only a customer-centric company that would really worry about their customers and be it not that you're right, Chris.
We're going back to the unicorn again from the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah.
I would be the color blue. All right, guys, I'm gonna call it a day. Thank you, Ray, for joining us, and we'll get bamboozled another day. Bye, everybody.
Great
Bye, guys.
discussion. Thanks. Bye-bye.